Hey, everybody, and welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today, we're going to be doing something a little different.
Okay.
We're going to be taking a trip to Ethiopia.
Sounds fun.
Yeah, so specifically, we're going to be looking at how this idea of user rights can actually help revitalize and regenerate a damaged environment.
Wow.
So this is a fascinating deep dive, and it's all based on a paper from way back in January of 1999.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so this is called The Development and Piloting of User Rights Procedures for Farmer-Led Natural Resource Management. And the author is Tena Shidarek. Now, this paper takes us to a region called Meket Woreda in North Willow, Ethiopia, and Koya. This region is known for its rolling hills and fertile land, just perfect for agriculture. But here's the catch. It's facing some pretty serious environmental problems.
Like what?
Like deforestation and land degradation.
Oh.
So the paper really delves into this problem and presents a potential solution. Have you ever heard of usufruct?
Usufruct.
Usufruct.
Yeah. I feel like I've heard of that.
Yeah, it's kind of a
Is it like a...
it's kind of a complicated concept, but in a nutshell, it's like a long-term lease
Oh, okay.
that gives communities the right to use and benefit from certain areas of land without actually owning the land itself.
Oh, interesting. So they don't actually own it, but they have the rights to use it.
Exactly.
Interesting.
So imagine you're a farmer in Meket Woreda. You depend on this land for your livelihood, but it's struggling. Now, with usufruct, you get that legal security. To use and benefit from that land, it's a big deal because it makes you invested.
Right. So they have a reason to take care of it.
Exactly.
Interesting.
You're not just a temporary resident, you're a stakeholder.
Right.
And you're motivated to take care of the land. It's about fostering a sense of ownership and responsibility.
Makes sense.
So let's zoom in on Meket Woreda specifically. The paper paints a pretty stark picture of the environmental situation. Deforestation was rampant.
How bad are we talking?
Only about 8% of the land was still forested.
8%.
Wow. And even that was mostly eucalyptus plantations.
Oh, okay.
Now, eucalyptus grows quickly, but it's not always the best choice for the environment.
Really? Why is that?
Well, think of it this way. They're like the fast food of the tree world.
Oh.
They grow fast, but they don't really offer the same nutritional value as a diverse forest.
So not a great long-term solution then.
Exactly. And it wasn't just the lack of trees. Overgrazing was another major issue.
Overgrazing, so like too many animals.
Too many animals.
Yeah.
Yeah, but imagine a whole herd of goats or sheep just munching away on every bit of vegetation.
Yeah, that can't be good for the soil.
It leads to soil erosion. And past attempts to reforest the area, they hadn't really been successful.
I see.
Because people didn't feel a sense of ownership.
Right.
And the benefits weren't obvious.
So it's just a tough situation all around.
Yeah, it was a tough situation all around, and that's where this pilot project for usufruct comes in.
Okay.
Kicked off in 1996 and involved 22 villages, or GOTS, as they're called locally.
Guts.
GOTS? Yes, G-O-T-T-S. And they basically set out to test this idea of usufruct, see if it could actually work in practice.
So like a little experiment.
Exactly.
Right.
And they were really organized about it. They held community meetings. They literally went out and marked the areas with brightly colored poles.
Like to show the boundaries.
To show the boundaries, yeah.
Okay.
And they developed these detailed management plans.
Wow.
They even got the official stamp of approval from both the local and regional authorities.
So they were taking this very seriously.
They were taking it very seriously. It wasn't just some temporary fix. And get this, within just 18 months, over a dozen of these villages had secured official rights to restore significant chunks of land.
That's pretty impressive.
It was incredible progress. And they weren't just planting any old tree. They were focusing on indigenous species, the ones that naturally belong to the region.
Oh, smart.
So it's like choosing a home-cooked meal instead of fast food.
I like that analogy.
So what happened next? Did things actually improve?
That's the big question.
Yeah, the big question.
Well, from what I understand, by giving the communities control, not only did they plant trees, they also saw this massive comeback of these native grasses.
Oh, wow.
And that meant more food for their animals, material for building their homes, and some were even able to sell the excess, a win-win situation.
Wow.
For them and the environment.
That sounds incredible. So they're bringing back the forest. They've got grass for their animals. They've got grass for their homes. And some are even making a little extra cash. It sounds like this usufruct thing was a pretty big hit.
Yeah, it was a pretty remarkable turnaround, and it gets even better.
Oh, there's more.
Oh, yeah. The communities, they really took initiative.
Oh, wow.
They set up guarding systems to protect those areas they were restoring.
So they weren't messing around.
Nope, and they even started their own nurseries to grow even more trees.
They were really all in on this.
They were all in.
That's amazing. Did
Yeah.
they run into any obstacles along the way?
Well, of course, every project has its challenges. One of the early hurdles they had was that reliance on the eucalyptus seedling.
Right, like that quick sugar rush
Exactly.
leaves you feeling worse off later.
That's exactly. And, they launched this project right at the start of the rainy season.
Oh, so they...
Needed to get those trees in the ground.
Exactly. They needed something that was ready to plant immediately.
I see.
There wasn't time to wait for those other seedlings.
Right. It was a trade-off.
It was a necessary compromise to get things moving.
Makes sense. So besides those eucalyptus issues, were there any other bumps in the road?
Well, another challenge they encountered was the impact on fuel wood collection.
Oh, right, because they were enclosing these areas.
Exactly. Traditionally, some women relied on gathering wood from those areas.
So it disrupted their routine.
Yes, it definitely disrupted things for some people, and it really highlights how important it is to think about all members of the community when you're making these kinds of changes.
Absolutely. Make sure no one's left behind.
Exactly. Did they find any solutions for that? Yeah, did they address that?
Well, the paper suggested incorporating controlled wood collection into the management plans.
Oh,
Or even promoting more fuel-efficient stoves.
interesting.
So thinking outside the box a little bit.
I like that, finding creative solutions.
Yeah.
So despite those challenges, it sounds like this pilot project was a big success.
Yeah.
Did it stop there, or did they try to spread this to other areas?
Well, the success in Meket Woreda was too good to ignore.
Yeah.
They ended up creating something called a Zonal Usufruct Coordination Committee.
Wow, that's a mouthful.
It is.
What do they do?
Well, they were tasked with expanding this to the entire North Willow Zone.
So they were going big beyond just this one,
Thinking big,
like,
yeah.
one little area. Did it work?
It did 4 other Woredas in the zone. Started putting similar procedures into place.
Wow.
And back in Meket, they enclosed an additional 20 sites covering 257 hectares.
Wow, that's a huge amount of land.
It is a massive expansion in just a couple of years.
So it really took off.
It really did, and it shows that there was a lot of enthusiasm, a lot of buy-in from the communities.
Yeah, they were seeing the benefits.
Exactly. And here's the really incredible part.
What's that?
3 communities in Meket were so inspired by the project that they independently started their own enclosure projects.
No way. So they just did it on their own.
They did it on their own. No outside help.
That's amazing.
It really speaks volumes about the impact of this approach.
Yeah, it wasn't just top down.
It wasn't just imposed.
It sparked a movement.
It sparked a genuine grassroots movement.
That's incredible. And that brings us back to our original question. Can granting user rights actually lead to real improvements for both the people and the environment?
Well, I think the evidence from Meket Woreda gives us a resounding yes.
Yeah.
By providing that security and those incentives, this project not only reversed environmental degradation, but it really empowered those communities to become agents of change.
It's amazing how a simple concept like giving people a stake in their land can have such a profound impact.
Yeah. It really flips the script, shifting from a mindset of dependence to one of ownership and responsibility.
That's powerful, and it makes you wonder, what can we learn from this, even if we're not facing those same environmental challenges?
Right.
Like in Ethiopia, it's not like we're all dealing with deforestation on that scale.
Right. It's a different context.
But there are some universal takeaways.
Absolutely.
What are some of those?
Well, I think the key principle here is community engagement.
Okay.
It's about understanding those needs and priorities of the people who are most connected to the land.
So even if we're not talking about vast tracts of land, the idea is to involve people in the decisions that affect their environment.
Precisely, whether it's a local park, a community garden, or even just a shared green space.
Yeah.
Those principles of ownership participation and benefit sharing, they're incredibly relevant.
I see. So it's about creating that sense of shared responsibility.
Exactly.
Where everyone feels empowered to contribute.
And it's not just about the practical benefits. It's about fostering that connection, that sense of belonging to a place.
Recognizing that we're not just visitors.
We're part of a larger ecosystem.
We're all connected.
We're all connected, and that's crucial for a sustainable future.
Absolutely. So as we wrap up our deep dive into usufruct and environmental regeneration, I'm left with a final thought-provoking question for our listeners.
Okay.
How can we apply these lessons, the principles of community engagement and ownership, to promote environmental stewardship in our own communities?
It's a great question and something to really think about.
No matter how big or small,
Exactly.
it's a really powerful story.
It is.
It shows that even when things seem really challenging, there's always hope.
There is, and that solutions can sometimes come from the most unexpected places.
Right, who would have thought that this idea of user rights could have such a huge impact?
It really challenges our assumptions about conservation.
It does, and it makes you think differently about how we approach these kinds of problems.
It's about empowering communities rather than imposing solutions from the top down.
Yeah, giving people the tools and the resources
Yeah,
to manage their own environments.
exactly.
So as we wrap up our deep dive into Ethiopia, I'm curious to hear your thoughts on the broader implications of this project. What lessons can we take away from this and apply to other parts of the world facing similar challenges?
Well, one of the big takeaways for me is the importance of recognizing and valuing traditional ecological knowledge.
Right. These communities in Ethiopia, they've been managing their land for generations.
Exactly. They have this deep understanding of the ecosystem. They know what works and what doesn't.
Often their practices are way more sustainable than the modern approaches that are imposed on them.
It's not about dismissing traditional knowledge as outdated. It's about integrating it,
Right.
learning from the wisdom of those who have lived in harmony with nature.
Yeah, bridging that gap
Yeah.
between traditional knowledge and modern science,
Exactly.
finding ways to work together.
Absolutely.
And another important lesson is the power of collaboration.
Oh, yeah. This wasn't just scientists coming in and telling communities what to do.
Right. It was a true partnership,
What?
a process of co-creation
Yeah.
and shared learning.
And that's what makes it so powerful.
Exactly. When people feel like they are part of the solution, they're more likely to buy into it,
Absolutely.
to invest their time and energy.
And that leads to lasting change.
Yeah, solutions that are sustainable over the long term.
So if we want to tackle these environmental challenges, we need to listen to the people on the ground.
The people who are closest to the land.
Exactly. We need to be willing to learn from them.
To work together to find solutions that are both effective and equitable.
That's a great way to put it.
It's about shifting that power dynamic
Giving communities a voice, a seat at the table.
and ultimately recognizing that we're all in this together.
We are.
We all have a role to play in creating a healthier planet.
Absolutely. Even small actions can make a difference.
They can. So whether you're planting a tree, supporting a local conservation group, or just reducing your own footprint, every little bit helps.
I think that's a perfect note to end on.
Yeah, this has been a fascinating deep dive into Ethiopia.
It has.
And we hope our listeners are feeling inspired to take action in their own communities.
It's been a pleasure.
And if you want to learn more about usufruct or explore other community-based conservation projects, be sure to check out the links in the show notes.
And remember, no matter where you are or what challenges you're facing, never underestimate the power of collective action.
Well said. Thanks for joining us on the deep dive.
It's been a pleasure.
Until next time, keep exploring and keep learning.